Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Select Generation podcast. I'm here with Joseph Allende. So, Joseph is a junior at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. He's going to talk to us today from kind of a different perspective of soccer and football, what we usually talk about. Joseph's involved with a couple of organizations. Um, he's got some exciting projects he's going to talk to us about, give us some good insights. So, Joseph, without further ado, I'll let you introduce yourself and we'll get the podcast going.
Yeah, so my name is Joe, and I am the PR and marketing director here at Sayward FC. And today I'm here just to have a conversation with you guys, introduce you to the club, and just tell you a little bit more about my passions and some projects I'm pursuing. So when it comes to Sayward FC, we are just a new club on the horizon. Last year we had our inaugural kickoff at the TST soccer tournament in Cary, and this year we have positioned ourselves as a multi-dimensional club. We participated in events across the country and are looking to continue to build and to add new pieces to our puzzle.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. So, talk to us a little bit about how you view soccer. So, obviously, you grew up playing soccer, you play club soccer, you didn't play college soccer, but now you're in different kind of soccer world. Like, is it an 11v11 team? Is it a 7v7 team? Like, talk to us about kind of your view of soccer and what Say Words kind of about in terms of like on the field.
Yeah, so um, that's a to answer your first question. We are an 11v11 side and an 8v8 side. So the multidimensional aspect kind of plays into that. We're looking to compete 11 aside in different leagues. I won't kind of get into those leagues yet, but we've been working behind the scenes to make those things happen. And then we are also looking to be a tournament type team where we participate in 8v8 style as well. We just ideally are looking to position ourselves um, to to be able to offer our players more than just an opportunity to play, but an opportunity to build their personal brand as well. Because something that we're very big on is just the mission behind Sayward, that I kind of haven't touched on yet, is giving players who are overlooked a chance to play, specifically young African American males. So that area is something that we're looking to drive forward with the club as well. So on the back end, we've been doing recruiting, looking in that area, and just trying to push that vision forward. So going forward, to ask like what's it going to look like on the pitch. Um, can't give you too much on that area yet, but it's going to be exciting. I can tell you that. It's going to be very exciting. Say where we're looking to be that team where you want to be around. It's a vibe, and everywhere we go, that vibe follows us, and it's something that people want to be around.
That's awesome. That's great. I love that. So, Joe, what about like your talk to us a little bit about talk to us a little bit about you as a soccer player. Like you grew up playing academy soccer, you chose not to go to college to play soccer. Why did you choose not to play college soccer?
Phenomenal question. Um, so if you get to know me, I'm a multidimensional guy. So I'm very curious. And when I got down to senior year, it was COVID time for me, and I it was a tough choice. I love the game, but I also love science. And I see my passion for soccer never leaving. But for science, I saw like this was kind of the opportunity I needed to take. I got offered a full ride as a Chancellor Science Scholar to UNC Chapel Hill. So it was just a decision where it made the most sense for me, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like there's so many kids that like play high school club soccer and then they kind of don't really have a passion for they don't really have a passion for the academics, but you kind of knew that, so that's awesome. I really respect that. What advice would you give to someone that is a high school player who's like 16, 17, thinking about the college process, kind of like yourself, has a really big academic focus, wants to go to a big school for academics, but they're not really sure about if they want to continue soccer, they play soccer, they think they want to play college soccer, but they're not really sure. Like, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to figure out what's next for them after high school when they're big on their academics?
Yeah, I love that question, Sam. Just the first thing I would say, is take your time. It feels like you're in a rush when you're in that position. It's like, okay, I got to make a decision right away. But really take your time. Just be able to when you look back, I would say like when you look back, you want to be able to say you made a decision that you wholeheartedly supported. And I would say like if I was in that position again, the thing I would tell myself would be you can do both. In this world, like a big thing is or. We want to do this thing or this thing. And I'm a big and guy. For me, the science, the soccer, that was more of like a different type of personal niche story. But in general, for guys that are chasing that like academia, but also trying to chase the love for the sport, I would say really take your time, but then also just keep your options open because you see, for me, like things unfolded in a different light. I didn't necessarily go play like collegiate soccer, but soccer is still a part of my life. So I kind of think that if you're in that stage, like, yeah, like you shouldn't see it as a closed chapter with the game. You might not be pursuing it on the field, but there's different perspectives to the game. So always just never lose that love, even if you don't pursue that position.
Yeah, that's so true. Because a lot of people think like, oh, I didn't make the college roster. Like, so I'm done with soccer now. Like, you can play club soccer, you can get involved in the UPSL, you can get involved in like so much. So there's so many soccer teams, kind of like I guess what you're doing with Say Word FC. So again, like for someone that thinks like they're going to school to choose the academia route, but they still want to get involved in soccer. Like how can someone get involved in soccer in college when they're not on the college roster?
Yeah, I love that question as well. It's a great question. So first way, so if you want to play, a lot of college teams have club teams. So you could do that. Outside of that, I would say networking. So really what came down for me was I had coaches that I'd play for. You had players that you would play with that some of your teammates that may still play in college, that play for maybe USL teams, UPSL teams. Um, Reach out to them and ask them like, hey, who's your coach? Or hey, who's your PR guy? Who can I get involved with? Who should I touch base with on email? And really just try to network. I'm a big guy when it comes to networking. Like I'm a big proponent of that. Like you really got to be proactive, because I'm gonna be real. There's a ton of clubs out there, and there's a ton of clubs that would love to have youthful energy, and drive, um, as a part of their club. And as you mentioned too, there's a lot of different positions at clubs. It's not just players; it's just community building positions, service-based positions, coaching positions. So the game of soccer is evolving, and especially in the U.S., we see the game of soccer evolving. So there's just even more growth opportunity there. As you mentioned, soccer here isn't really a hot commodity in terms of the adult league. We look in other countries like Europe, not Europe, been a long day, I'm sorry. Other countries like England, um, Spain, and you see like the adult leagues, even if it's not the top tier league, like there's culture around it, there's community around it. And say we're like we see that niche area that has not been filled in the US. But we see that we got to bring our culture to that. So that's kind of what we're positioning ourselves to do, in that light.
That's awesome, man. Love that, Joe. So a little bit about Say Word. Like how did like were you involved from the start? How did it start? How did you get involved? Like talk to us about like Say Word's journey and then your individual journey with Say Word.
Yeah, so I I can't tell you exactly when it started. That'd be a better question for Russ.
Okay.
But I got involved November 2022. Um, I would say Say Word, from my guess, was started September 2022. So very young club.
And then how did you get involved? Like how did they make an approach to you? Did you reach out? Like how did you get involved and why did you take your role?
Yeah. So very interesting story. So as I said, the club owner is one of my friends' dad. So I had that kind of personal connection. At first, I was actually playing for Say Word. So I would come home sometimes on weekends, time to time. I'm in college, so like still not very often. And play some tournaments with them. And then me and Russ kind of had some conversations about just the vision for Sayward moving forward, and just kind of what we wanted to do to make that happen. And he noticed that I kind of had that vision in my head as well, the same vision that he has, and so he brought me on board with the administrative side of things. And from there, I'm gonna be real. He gave me like a small initiative when I first started. He was like, "Hey, like do this, like try out this initiative," and I kind of ran with it. And then with that, like he kind of gave me some more responsibility, and from there, it's been that.
Good, awesome. So what do you enjoy about your role? Like, what's your passion for your role at Sayward?
Yeah. So I I love branding. I really love branding. Um, it's just like I have a couple companies outside of like just my involvement with Sayward. Just I love building brands. And because what I like to say is is your company in a person. It's the personification of your company. And when it comes to customers, you want them to trust that brand how they trust a person. You want to build a personality with that brand, how like how you would with a person. And just it goes back to that Sayward, like that vibe I'm talking about, where it's like we want Sayward to be that person you want to be around, that club you want to be around, like that player you want to be around, that vibe. And like it's building brands is just a very big passion of mine. So building the brand of Sayward, I would say, has been my favorite part so far.
Yeah, right. Awesome. That's cool, man. Yeah, I totally get you on that. Like, that's big for us too, like we want people to come to us and trust us and, feel like when they look at the brand, they're speaking to myself or Victor, who we're talking to a lot of the players. I think the branding is really important and it says a lot about like you as a person too. So that's good. Okay, Joe. So what about like advice you would give to players that um are playing for, say, Word FC? Like a player on your team that is, interested in furthering their soccer career, that's interested in winning for, say, Word FC. Like, is there any type of advice you give to players on the team, or have they got like a common goal?
Hmm. Yeah. So to answer that question, I would say that there's a lot of advice that I would give the guys. I the biggest one to go back to branding. Just I'm gonna spend some time on that piece because that's kind of what my focus is. Would say where, um, I'm very big on that. So I said I'm the PR director. I'm very big on getting the guys to personal branding for themselves, and this ties very well into your business. I'm pretty sure because I've looked at the background a little bit. Young guys like knowing how to brand yourself, knowing how to put yourself out there, knowing how to market yourself, knowing how to show yourself as a valuable piece. I love like giving the guys advice on that, because it's really just it's a skill. Um, Most people think it's a natural thing. Oh, some guys are good at it, some guys aren't. It's not. It's a skill you build. And so I really love helping the guys build a skill, especially the guys who struggle. On in that piece with the PR, with the personal branding, with being able to market themselves. I love just giving them advice in that area, and seeing them grow.
That's awesome, man. What advice would you give to someone like this is you're making me think now. So, for example, if you're a 16-year-old, 17-year-old who's posting on Instagram, like going to parties, posting on Instagram, like I don't know, unprofessional pictures, obviously, like each to their own, right? Like you can't tell someone what or what not to post, but someone that's pursuing a Division One, a Division Two, a Division Three, a college soccer opportunity in general, it's really important when a coach looks at your social media, they see that you're posting soccer pictures or, you're posting time with your family, maybe at the beach or, not you with a can of beer or you with, alcohol. What what would you say to a 16, 17-year-old like that wants to pursue college soccer about their personal brand?
Huge in this day when that coaches can see you at the click of a button. Your image, your like, digital marketing is huge. It used to be back in the day when you were marketing yourself to coaches, you have to go on a visit or email them or personally go hand them something. But nowadays they click your clip or they watch your clip on social media in a second. So really just that personal branding is bigger than ever. and it's larger than just in person, your persona, how you portray yourself. It's your digital persona as well. And so as a youth player nowadays, I would position myself to take advantage of that. So the first thing is, like you said, you need to represent yourself how you want to be represented to those coaches. And it starts with, yeah, not having not drinking, not partying, all that stuff. Like that stuff's cool. Like you said, we're human beings, we do those things. But it comes down to your focus. Are you focused? Are you doing what you need to do? Are you staying consistent? And you can even, instead of using a platform to post whatever you need to do, post the things that you should be doing. Post your consistency, post your what you're doing. Let the world see that. And one thing I would say to add to that, a lot of guys think, oh, like, should I really be posting every single thing, or should I really, like, does it get redundant, or like blah blah, like yes, like make a soccer account, make a private account, post your trainings, post your different things that you're doing, market yourself. Personal branding is huge. Like the skill is one factor in getting placement, but branding is also a huge thing. So really, I would give to sum up that advice, really just respect yourself, and that respect will transpire to that that area.
Yeah, Joe, I think that's honestly one of the best pieces of advice we've had on this podcast. Like, I can't tell you how many times like we look at like peak kids like players' social media accounts and they have a soccer account and it's like, okay, they're posting like regularly, like like they're doing private sessions or they're like going out to the fields by themselves, playing with their friends. Like you can tell that person loves soccer. And then we have a player that like, plays at a good level, got maybe one or two pictures of him playing, but the other pictures is him, I don't know, even sometimes with a vape or with a cigarette, with a can of beer, with, partying. Like I'm not the I'm not the most perfect human in the world. Like that's what I was doing at 16, 17. But looking back now, I'm like, if a coach was looking at my profile, they might not make me a scholar, or they might take $5,000 scholarship offer away from me if they saw that. Like they want to go with someone that really loves soccer because they want to win. So that's really good advice, Joe. Okay. Um, okay. So then, lastly, last question I have for you. Um, where do you see Sayward FC in 5 years?
I see Sayward FC in 5 years as a traveling club, traveling around the country doing tournaments, and also a club that builds a pipeline to break down accessibility barriers in soccer in America.
Nice, man. That's awesome. And then where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you see yourself on the playing side? Do you see yourself on the management side? Do you see yourself growing into like a sponsorship side? Like, what about you for your personal development? Like, where would you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah. As far as the soccer side, I want to be involved in Sayward um, all the way. So I hope in 5 years I'm in leadership there. And as far as just my personal goals, I'm hoping to go to medical school.
Nice, man. That's awesome. That's great. Joe, thank you so much for your time on the podcast. And that was a really good conversation. I really enjoyed talking about the branding, Sayward, you've got a bit of a different route. That's the first time we've done a podcast with someone that didn't really want to pursue college soccer. So I'm really grateful for that. And that was a good conversation, Joe. Thank you.
Yes, sir.